the honest truth is when I was sitting there and not struggling, but I was thinking about like, why am I doing this? Right? I'm a 50-year-old fat guy that's starting this nonprofit. Why do I care about this issue? And I'm like, what is this about? What is this about? And then it kind of hit me on like a real cliche Disney moment, right? But it was like, oh my God, this is about dignity. This is about someone's dignity, and that really resonated with me. And so even now, our tagline is about health and dignity. It's about health because you can't have folks changing tampons every 2 days or using a T-shirt, right? And also you can't have folks having to choose between basic needs.
You're on a mission, and you just need more people to know about it. And whether you're brand new to marketing or a seasoned pro, we are all looking for answers to make marketing decisions with purpose. I'm Monica Pitts, a techie, crafty business owner, mom, and aerial dancer who solves communication challenges through technology. This podcast is all about digging in and going digital. I'll share my marketing know-how and business experience from almost 20 years of misadventures. I'll be your backup dancer, so you can stop doubting and get moving towards marketing with purpose. Hello again, and welcome back to Marketing with Purpose. So if you're on my email list, you got an email a few months ago, and I asked if anybody had a story to tell because I wanted to share the successes of other people with our Marketing with Purpose community so that way you could hear what are the things that are working for people? What are the mindsets that they embody that make them successful? And I'm trying to wrap that more into our episodes and still give you something to take away and chew on and take action with as well. And this person responded to me. I'm actually going to read you the email. He said, a 50-year-old guy starts a nonprofit tackling period poverty and in 4 years operates in 3 states and handed out almost 2 million products. Could there be something there? Hope to talk to you soon. That was the email. And when I read that email, I thought, oh yeah, I got to hear this story. And so I am bringing Geoff Davis on as our guest so you can hear his story about how he went from a conversation with a person to a person giving dignity to everyone and even creating change about how we view menstrual cycles and how we talk about them with our families and in our communities. It's pretty amazing. Now, here's the deal. If you are a business, there is still something in this for you, okay? I know we have listeners who are businesses, we have listeners who are nonprofits, and I'm sure some of you businesses might be thinking, you know what, this might not be for me. But here's the deal, it totally is. Because marketing with purpose is all about serving your audience, about embracing your marketing with a heart of servitude. And there is no entity that does that better than a nonprofit. A nonprofit is delegated by its tax status, not by its operations. A good nonprofit runs like a business. And you're going to hear the story of how Geoff took this idea of period kits and ran it like a business fearlessly and found success and helped so many people in multiple states all over the U.S. And he's not just helping individuals get feminine products. He's also helping create period kit organizations all over. It's awesome. It's such an inspiring story, and I'm so pumped to share it with you. And the crazy thing is I'm giving him this credit, and he's probably over there just like shaking his head if he's listening to this episode, because he says that's not what it's all about. It's about people helping other people, and that's it. The end. You can tell these people that the tampon fairy dropped off these kits for all I care, as long as people get them and they have the dignity of being able to have the products that they need to be healthy and proud of their own bodies. So with that, I want to introduce you to Geoff. You're going to love him. And it doesn't matter if you're a business, a marketer, or a nonprofit. This story has a nugget of goodness in it for you. Let's get to business. Hello again, and welcome back to Marketing with Purpose. Now, we have a pretty vast audience of different types of listeners. We have some people who are businesses, we have nonprofits, we have marketers. So we have all kinds of people that listen to this podcast. And one of my favorite things to do is find people with great stories and share their stories and their successes with you. Because I know that some of you guys are at the beginning of entrepreneurship or at the beginning of establishing your nonprofit, or maybe you're just in the grind every single day and you need to find what it looks like on the other side of that journey. And so I have a special guest with me today. And I invited him in because he has a really fun story to tell us. I would like to introduce you to Geoff Davis, and I would also like to introduce you to his nonprofit, Period Kids. Geoff, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, my name is Geoff Davis. I started the organization in Denver, Colorado, about 4.5 years ago. I was having coffee with someone that had lived experience, and we were just talking about things, and they made a comment, I've had food and I've had tampons, and I had to put the food back. And that kind of hit me and resonated with me. But also, I'm very food motivated. So I asked her, I said, well, what do folks do if you're like, what do you do if you're just really hungry that day? And she was like, oh, people use napkins, folks use newspapers, folks use socks, the worst one was, she says, folks will ration their tampons. They'll change their tampon every other day or things like that. So that was the kind of the seed. And then I had always worked in nonprofits in Denver. So I started talking to folks to find out, was she just not good with her money, or is this a thing? And nonprofit after nonprofit, especially that dealt with folks in the homeless space, this is an issue. This is an issue. And one lady really explained it best for me. She said, if you tell people person experiencing homelessness, the majority of folks picture a man. The majority of folks picture a 55-year-old man with a bottle in his back pocket because that's easy for them to think about. We don't think about women, and we never think about children, right? But the reality is, right now there are kids sleeping in cars, and there are so because of that, her point was donations are skewed towards the male. And so she was someone that ran an agency that served homeless people, that ran a really, really good ID card program. But they were taking money from that program to go buy tampons. And I thought, well, no, let's do this Period Kids thing. Let's start something where nonprofits should be able to focus on their mission. And then we can do this. And so that's literally how it started. We applied for a 501c3, and it just kind of blew up on us since then.
But this isn't your first experience working with nonprofits, right? You came from experience and have worked for nonprofits before. Tell us your backstory. Like, what did you do before you started Period Kids?
I briefly had a far from illustrious Airforce career. And then I got out of the Air Force. I had a set of twins that were born 13 weeks early. They weighed 1.4 pounds each. And so I got out of the Air Force to stay in. My wife at the time knew what she was doing in the Air Force is what she wanted to do. So I stayed at home dad, and then moved to Denver, Colorado, had a couple of jobs that were in the for-profit world and made decent money, but was just miserable, and got laid off. And at the time, though, and I needed a job, and I got a job working with adults with special needs. And I think I was there 2 or 3 weeks, and came home, and I was like, I am doing this forever. Right. And I was on a team that we kind of had the highest level of needs. Our folks were changes and G-tubes, and we had to feed them, but I just loved it. I fell in love with it, and worked in that space for about 16, 17 years. Kind of towards the end, got some burnout I was working with sex offenders that were sex offenders because of their disability. And after about 3 years of that, 4 years of that, just got a little bit of burnout. So I went to worked with folks experiencing homelessness. I had a job in between that where I started a really cool program in Denver. I worked at a junk hauling company, but my job was to keep everything we picked up out of the landfill. So we recycled what we could recycle, but then the rest we worked with other nonprofits for bedding, for towels, for sheets, for plates, for whatever it was. Our job was to keep it out of the landfill. So just did that, and I had always been in that kind of space. And so this just seemed like here's something that's not being talked about. Here's something that's an issue, and so there's something I can do about it. Why not do something about it?
Now, having worked for lots of different nonprofits, you probably saw some that ran really well and some that didn't run as well. Can you tell me some things that you took away from those experiences that you feel made you more successful when you established period kits?
Yeah, I think two things really. One, I think if you're it all changed when I started my own nonprofit because I always joke around and say like it was weird when the buck started stopping with me, right? And but I think you have to remember that you're starting a business. Like you have to be profitable. Just because it says nonprofit, it just means you have to do something different with your profit. So you have to run it very much like a business, and you have to invest in infrastructure, and you have to invest in marketing. And first, probably $600 we ever got, we put right back into a CRM program, and we paid somebody to do social media for $25 a month for it, and a drink or so. Like we have, those are things you have to do. I think also what I see is that nonprofits have a real scarcity mentality. Some nonprofits, I should say, like this is mine and these are my grants and these are my and all the success we've had continues to be with collaboration. Partnering with other nonprofits, doing events at the library that will draw folks into the library, but benefit this nonprofit in this town. And so I think collaboration is huge.
So running your nonprofit with the mentality of a small business and collaborating with other nonprofits. Those are the
absolutely. You shouldn't be afraid to collaborate. There's enough goodwill out there to find it and find your niche. And I think being very, very focused. When we first started period kits, folks would be like, oh, you should put toothpaste in there. You should put soap in there. You should put and I was like, no. This is what we do, and these are the folks that we support. If you want to go start hygiene kits for the homeless or whatever, then you should. But for us, we're going to support this need, and we're going to focus all our efforts on this need.
I think that is great advice. Like, I want to get so excited over that advice that you just gave, because really focusing on one need allows you to really serve that purpose and do it successfully and make a difference through it. I find that some nonprofits will just start kind of expanding because people see them, they know that they're capable. They're like, hey, will you do this too? Will you do this too? And then before they know it, they're not picking what they do anymore. Someone else picked what they do for them, and they're spread too thin, and they can't make it they can't make the same difference anymore. So while I applaud people for being so incredibly generous with their time and their talents, I think it's really, really smart to still stay really focused the way that you have done, because then you're also not a threat. People that might be one of the reasons you have more success collaborating, because people realize that you're not taking from them, you're benefiting them. Now they don't have to find a way to fit tampons into their budget because you're doing it for them, right?
No, absolutely right. It should be very. As someone once joked around and they called us Apple. They're like, "You guys make iPods," and kind of like, we want to do one thing, we want to do it really, really good. And I know Apple does a bunch of different things now, but for us to be successful, it's also when you're talking about an issue that I know nothing about, other than daughters and wives, and right, I've got to stay focused on this and address that issue. And so that was very important, I think.
Now, one question so a lot of gentlemen don't even like to talk about the fact that women have periods. They're super uncomfortable with it. I remember, my husband, God bless him, he is an amazing man. And one day I was sitting at home, I didn't feel well. And he's like, do you need anything from the store? And I'm like, yes, tampons. And he's like, okay, got it. And he's in the aisle, FaceTiming me, trying to find the exact box that I want, but a lot of guys wouldn't do that. So right. how did you become comfortable enough within your own skin and with, human beings too, the needs of human beings, that you were willing to like go out on a limb and do this, especially as a guy? That's kind of cool.
Well, I have twin daughters as well as twin sons.
Okay.
And then along the way, I inherited 3 girls. So in the house, we had 5 girls, all under the age of 12. And so as the girls got older and the first one started their period, I called my wife, and this was a big, I didn't know it at the time, right? But this was a big thing. I called her and I said, hey, just so you know, this is what you're coming home to. Sally started her period. And she was like, okay. And so on the way home, she stopped by the store and made this whole kind of welcome to womanhood basket. It had tampons, and it had pads, and it had liners, and it had Pampering, and it had chocolate, and all these things. So what it did, though, for our little household was it just normalized this event. So the next daughter was looking forward to it. Well, wonder what I get when I start. The third daughter was talking about it. And then when she started, the 2 older ones went and got her. They thought they were so cute. They bought her like a red velvet cake because they thought they were being very funny. But it was just my life with 5 girls, a wife. And then also the honest truth is when I was sitting there and not struggling, but I was thinking about like, why am I doing this? Right? I'm a 50-year-old fat guy that's starting this nonprofit. Why do I care about this issue? And I think I was out on the couch because I was snoring, and I'm like, what is this about? What is this about? And then it kind of hit me on like a real cliche Disney moment, right? But it was like, oh my God, this is about dignity. This is about someone's dignity. And that really resonated with me. And so even now, our tagline is it's about health and dignity. It's about health because you can't have folks changing tampons every 2 days or using a T-shirt, right? And also you can't have folks having to choose between basic needs. I don't have to choose as far as going to the toilet. My toilet paper has always been there. So we need to get as a bigger thing. We need to get where it's a bodily function. That I always say, like, no one has ever been like, hey, you know what? That sounds really cool. I want one of those every month for 35 years. Where do I sign up? Right?
My daughter said to me the other day, she's like, Mom, does it ever get less weird? And I was like, no. I mean, like, no. Like, I wish I could tell you that it does, honey, but it really doesn't. It's always just a little weird.
It's all, and I lucky too had some daughters that were very open and honest about things. And I had one time where one of my daughters got off the couch and she mad stomped to the bathroom and mad walked out of it, right? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? And she was upset. And she goes, I get more warning about a blizzard or a hurricane than I do about my period. And so there's that factor as well. And so what hopefully when we first started, I said to the folks that were involved in the board, I said, if y'all think a man leading this organization is a detriment, then I'll just be in the background. I'll be, do work and whatever. And have one friend, God bless her, she's very, very, very kind of dramatic and poetic. And she's like, but what she said was, she's like, no, because what it does is you, not me literally, but you transcend the issue. Because it's not just a woman thing. And if a woman started this organization, it would be, unfortunately, oh God, here's another woman with another gripe, blah, 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 blah. So what you do is, and what I hope to do is just to make it about, it's just a person, right? And also a period for them is the reason we're all here. It's just how the plumbing works, right?
Yeah.
So for the men, like, get over yourself. It's not, no, but I'm serious. I've been to events, Monica, where men won't touch the products. And I've had to stop and be like, look, you're not going to catch menstruation. I promise you. Right. So just put some tampons in a bag and deal with it. Pull up your big girl panties and let's go. Let's build some kits.
That's actually, you know what? You're right. It is actually an advantage to have a person like you at the head of the organization, because you can pull all humans together in a really cool way. And That is really funny. You can't catch menstruation.
Well,
That's
I mean, I
hilarious.
always make the point, right? I've clearly never been hungry, but I can donate to a food bank.
Yeah.
I've never ever really been cold, but I can donate a tent or a sleep bag or whatever that happens to be. So just because I don't have the lived experience, it doesn't mean I'm not compassionate and I can't. I told Ashley after I got to know her, I said, the minute you said that, like I pictured you in the grocery store with a cup of noodles and a box of tampons. And she's like, I hate cup of noodles. I'm like, okay, well, but the point is, right? There you are, you're making this choice. And it's a choice no one should have to make if they don't have to.
So tell me a little bit about how you grew this, because it's not just period kits, it's period kits Minnesota, and you also in Ohio. I mean, like, how did you do that? Like, I mean, it's only 4 years old. How did it get so big so fast?
I mean, it's something that I did, and it's not that I'm any brilliant mind or anything. Is really just a reflection of the need that's out there right now around a subject that's so taboo or stigmatized, right? But some of the things that the first thing we did, or I did, was like, I don't know social media. I admit that. I made one Thanksgiving sitting there with the kids, and I'm like, I didn't know you couldn't post to Instagram from your laptop. And they all laughed at me and called me boomer the rest of the Thanksgiving day, right? But so what I did with period kits was like, okay, find that 26-year-old, find that 24-year-old, and see if they'll do it for free to start with or do it for $25 a month. But they know the algorithm. Don't post at 9 a.m, post at 3:30 on a Friday or whatever that happens to be, right? And so that's how we grew. We were on the news, and we got very lucky that we started off having public events where we just get together at a coffee shop and say, bring supplies. We're going to build kits because we had no money. So just that's how we grew. We grew through word of mouth, and we grew honestly like never afraid to talk about the issue, never afraid to talk about what I did. I wasn't always comfortable with, oh, you're a man, or these things. Really became though kind of a rallying point though, because like, so what, right? You can help too, whatever that is. So and I talked about period kits at the Kiwanis. I got invited one time to the Kiwanis group in Denver, and I didn't know what I grew up in England. So when the guy asked me, like, well, are you familiar with Kiwanis? I'm like, yeah, you guys build pools, don't you? And they were like, I didn't know about the organization, but I still talked to 20, 80-year-old men over breakfast about period poverty, and they were some of the biggest individual checks I got in the beginning. And then I think when we leaned into it, like if you're going to lean into it, like lean into what you're dealing with. We had our first event was called It's a Bloody Sunday. We had Bloody Marys. We had a taco bar. We had a 4-foot tampon pinata. Because again, no shame what we're doing, right? So but we say that, so let's be congruent, right? If we're saying one thing, let's act like it and let's do it. And so if we're talking about periods, we're talking about menstruation, all those things, just lean into it and go with it and talk about it. And we had an event. We're planning an event that's one of the things that has bothered me the more I know about this and learn about this are all these like euphemisms, like Shark Week. My daughter calls it Shark Week.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. And so we want to have and also part of the story is I grew up, probably till I was 22, I didn't think women could go swimming on their period because I was told they can't by 13-year-old Billy. I'm not going to ask my mom. I'm not going to ask my sister. I'm just going to keep believing that. So in Colorado, also, they couldn't go camping because of the bears. But part of it is have an event where you encourage folks to wear bathing suits, to wear white bathing suits, and just kind of throw. I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit older and grew up in England, like I said, and have a little bit of punk rock kind of in your face. But no, this is what we do, and this is who we support. And that helped. I think that helped us grow immediately. And then one thing we did too was that I've been told helps us grow, and now I continue to see it is when we had events in different suburbs of Denver. If we were up in Boulder, if we were and wherever we were, the kit stayed there. We found an agency in around that bar or restaurant or coffee shop or whatever it was that would accept the kits. So that during the kit building event, when I say my 3 minutes of words or whatever, it's very impactful to say, but the stuff you do today is staying here. We had one last night in Ohio, and we were in Springfield, Ohio. And to be able to tell all those folks, like, these are go to the Springfield public libraries, these are go to the Springfield food bank, and these are going to the Springfield public school system. It just there's that sense of pride, and folks get involved and stay involved.
Now, if you were going to tell a new nonprofit, like the one activity that you would say you need to do this because this is going to move the needle for you, this is going to help you get more supporters, this is going to help you grow your organization, what do you think that one thing would be?
Find a way to collaborate with other nonprofits. Find a way to, like I said, have an event that benefits the library. The kids are going to go to the food bank. And then also what happens is have someone from the food bank there. In my case, have someone from the food bank there that'll also say a few words about your community food bank and what this then means to the food bank. Because of this, we don't have to go out and spend $700 on tampons, pads, and liners, or whatever that is, right? There's enough for everybody out there. Lord knows there's enough need out there. So address that need and find ways to collaborate with, and sometimes it's not always like-minded nonprofits, right? But you can still figure out ways to collaborate, and that would be my one word, my key to success. And really also though, like at some point I know you talked about a startup, and so we were doing Denver Startup Week, how to start a nonprofit, and we were on a panel, and the 45 minutes of SWOT analysis and business plans and all these things. And I got really frustrated and I kind of grabbed the mic and I'm like, I don't know the difference between a SWOT analysis and a SWAT team. But at some point you need to go do, right? You just need to get off your butt and go do something. And if you fail, so what? Right? My daughter, when she was 7, she was trying to be a little smart. I can say, Dad, it's not rocket surgery. And I'm like, no, kid, it's not. There's no such thing as rocket surgery. But you don't have to have it figured out. Just go. You're not gonna cause any harm. If you mess up, so what? First thing I ever asked was I had to ask, what's the difference between a pad and a liner? Because I didn't know. Right? So just go out there and fail as much as you can. You're still failing, like the cliche, right? You're failing forward. If my kits were built wrong in the beginning, there's still, the bottom line is there's products getting into the hands of the people that need it. And that's the important thing.
In my family, we have a saying, and we say that when we are refusing to take a step forward because we are looking at too much information and we just keep information gathering, I call it like I just get overwhelmed with all the stuff. And then I get frustrated with myself because I'm not moving forward. And I'm a person that likes to really like future pace, right? But we call it paralysis by analysis. And I actually have a podcast episode about paralysis by analysis. I should actually check when it comes out in the calendar. It will come out after our conversation. So look for that. Perfect. In August, my friends.
Okay.
I mean, it really is. It's a thing. You have to be able to just realize you're never going to have all the information. And you won't have any more information really until you do something. And then you make the decision and you'll learn from it. And then you can go forth and make the next decision. And it's like whatever decision you made was the right decision because you made it with what you had, right?
When we built the kits, we started with 3-month kits. We started with 40 tampons, 20 pads, 20 liners, a package of wipes, and 5 pair of underwear. And I would always say though, like for my daughter Kaylee, that may last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
For Kira, that may last 6 minutes sometimes. It's a very, very personal thing. So, but we needed something because we're a business. So we needed a metric.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then we need to know what's in inventory, what's not in inventory, what's logistics, all these things. When we did a 1 month kit, we spent probably an hour in a board meeting talking about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, I'm just like, okay, we're doing 14 tampons, 7 pads, 7 liners, end.
Yeah.
Because that's just right. I don't want to sit here all day.
Did you get feedback then?
We got feedback. What we found was really interesting is we were handing out kits during COVID. Denver had these distribution days called We Hear You, We Got You. And they were drive-through events where you would drive through with your trunk popped. And the food bank was there, and the diaper bank was there, and the pet pantry was. We found certain cultures, certain pockets of this. If we were in a Hispanic community, if we were in a refugee community, they were stopping the lines to take tampons out and get back to us. Culturally, for whatever the reason is,
they don't use them.
Right. So then we came up with a second kit that's in a different colored bag that's just pads and liners.
And see, if you guys hadn't made that decision to just move on with the first kit, you never would have learned what you needed out of the second kit. And by examining how people were interacting with your kits, you learned and you made them better. And you came up with one that is more effective for those folks. And I think
that suits the needs, which is what you want to do. And so don't be afraid to fail and don't pay. I mean, we have had people on social media with their negativity and can't believe you don't use the menstrual cups. They're sustainable and they're but if you're in the position of someone living on the streets, I don't even know when they're going to be able to have access to hot water or a bathroom. That doesn't suit. When I worked with folks experiencing homelessness, so many times we get these large pallets of canned goods donated. And after a while, after you get to know the folks and talk to the folks, they hate canned goods because they're heavy and they don't have a can opener.
Oh, yeah.
So think about, don't think about, I think everything should be organic and spun by unicorns and all those things, right? But that's not practical for the end user. And that's where you've got to start. Well, that's where you should be at the end of your thought process. Who's using this stuff?
I think this is great advice, not just for nonprofits, but for businesses too, especially young businesses, because there's just so much to learn from the heart of servitude from a nonprofit. I really believe that businesses that run with the heart of a nonprofit and nonprofits that run like a business are two of the most successful entities that you can have, because when you're really concerned with the person that you're doing this for, whether it's a service that you do for your business or a service that you do through a nonprofit, that makes it even better. And it makes it the right thing for them. And it's going to help them solve their problem and it will help them live a better life. And that's sort of what we should be all about, right? No matter if you're a nonprofit or a business. Right? Yeah. And that's how we all find happiness too.
And I think with nonprofits too, unless you're direct care or for me, then the goal was to be out of business in 10 years. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking about something else is the period products aren't on benefits, aren't covered by SNAP, aren't covered by TANF. In over 20 states, they're still taxed. They're taxed. They were taxed in Colorado. They told me they were taxed because they were a luxury item.
Oh dear.
So I got real mad and I was like, well, I've been missing out on luxury every month for about 30 years. So I feel like y'all owe me something. But there's all these big issues, right? And we want to address those, but we don't want to try and be at the legislation and at the organic summit and at the right now. My whole thing was I'm starting this thing I want someone to not have to use a newspaper. And we'll go from there, right? We try not to, some products don't have applicators. We try not to use those, or we get those to organizations that we know have folks that are housed, right? So you can be conscious of that, but it shouldn't be a driving factor in what you do.
So, do you have any final words or advice that you want to share with our audience, businesses, nonprofits, either one, that are like driving after a passion and working with this heart of servitude?
I would say you just go for it and you figure it out as you're going along, right? You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to. I used to tell my kids, and kind of the same thing when I started Period Kids. Like, you make the best decision you can with the information you have at the time. In 6 months, you're a genius or you're an idiot, and then you correct. And that's just kind of what life is, right? I should have dated her. I should have dated him. Whatever it is, but you've got to do something. So don't wait for that perfect opportunity. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Just go out and start doing things, and don't be embarrassed by what you do. Don't be embarrassed by what your cause is. Just preach from for every chance you get, because that $5 a month donor is all of a sudden a $25,000 donor. We talked to somebody last night at the event, just because we had a public event with public people. They work at a large corporation. That corporation called me today and want to donate and want to have a kit build with their employees. This is a huge company. So, but if we hadn't had this little event at a little co-working space in Springfield, Ohio, it wouldn't have happened. Talk about what you do all the time to everyone, and believe in what you do, and just go for it, and don't sit around waiting.
And I love that you've stayed true to yourself too. Like your concept and the way that you present it and the way that you talk about it, you're just very much this is what it is, this is how it is. And I feel like in that way you're probably doing more than just giving people dignity. You're also allowing like our culture to shift the way that we think about having your period. Like even just you saying that it is like you wouldn't be here without it. I never thought about it that way, right? That's really cool. So like, why do we have to freak out about it? Why does it have to be gross? Why does it have to be bad?
Right.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
have
have
to
to
be that way.
be.
Yeah.
It's like that, to generalize. It's like that because of men.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we don't understand it. We don't go through it. So let's just belittle it. And I think it's very important to know. Just one more thing. There was a huge point for Period Kits was we were at the Women's March in 2020, and we had lots of people stop by our booth, and they were like, "Oh, this is an amazing organization. You build these kits and you send them to Tanzania, or you build these kits and you send them to Mumbai, or like insert foreign country."
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, I got really upset. I'm like, "No, I sent them to Boulder. I sent them to Arvada, and people need to know that this is here. This is in our country. These are our daughters, our sisters, our mom, whatever it is, right?" And when I get emails, they're from the local high school. They have a 14-year-old in the office because she's changing her tampon every other day because she doesn't want them in school. But now she's sick, right?
Yeah.
So you just need to know that this is here. But I like what you said, like just lean into it and don't, because I think regret is poison, right? You can sit around and, I should have done this, I should have done that, I should have. No, just go do it. Who cares?
Well, I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate that you're taking care of your community, but even farther reaching than that. And I'm happy for your success. I'm happy for everybody who gets to have the kits. And I'm happy
Me
for
too.
the conversation that you've started today. And hopefully it spreads even wider and people can look at it differently. And they can also realize that they can help someone else have dignity through helping them have feminine products, which is awesome. So thank you so much for sharing today. I knew you were going to be energizing and just make me feel like $1 million by the end of this conversation. It's such an awesome story. Tell people how they can get a hold of you or learn more about your organization.
Yeah, it's just periodkits.org or periodkitsohio.org, or it's periodkitsmn.org. And probably also, if you're really interested in starting one in your town, I mean, I've sat with 20 different cities probably and helped start programs from like Tacoma to Tampa Bay. So email me at Geoff D, GEOFFD at periodkits.org. Or also there's a national group, the Alliance for Period Supplies. This is part of the National Diaper Bank. They have a lot of great resources as well.
Geoff, thank you so much for this conversation, and thank you so much for your service. You're doing amazing work. And
All
everybody
right. Thank you
else,
very much.
thank you so
Take
much for
care.
listening. And until next time, go forth and market with purpose. To get a copy of the show notes and all those links that we just heard from our guest, head on over to mayecreate.com, MAYECREATE.com. And of course, I have to tell you the things that all podcasters are supposed to tell you at the end of their episodes. Like, if you thought this was awesome, you could subscribe. And then I would get to tell you when I have new stuff for you to learn, and new episodes, and new people to meet, new stories to tell. Oh, and of course, I would really love it if you left a review. So head on over to mayecreate.com for those show notes, MAYECREATE.com, or maybe even contact my team about building that next website. We can do it for you, and we even have our Better Than DIY website program that teaches you to plan and build your own website. So head on over to mayecreate.com, MAYECREATE.com. I'll meet you over there.